Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels is very much unlike other stories and novels. Multi-dimensional and multi-purpose, the text functions as a satire, a dissection and display of the corruptions of government, the foolish allocation of power, the faults of science, and most important in Part 4, the definition of humanity. A pillar of English literature and a popular work even today, this book reveals the Irish clergyman's thoughts through Gulliver's response to numerous foreign societies, the Wyndhams being this populace in the final and most philosophical portion. The author's detailing of this strange culture reveals insights into topics of education, truth, language, loyalty, physical appearance, and skill, ultimately arguing that a thriving civilization must be characterized by a blend of decency and passion. In his final voyage, Gulliver finds himself among two groups of creatures, the Wyndhams and the Yahoos. The first of these are described as clever and benevolent horse-like animals, while the latter are carnal, unteachable, and evil creatures that seem to be overly hairy humans. A skeptic, Wyndham, whom Gulliver believes to be a magician transformed into a horse, takes Gulliver in and shows him his ornately formed home. To his disbelief, the protagonist finds more Wyndhams in the house, though he guessed that a person must be the master of these horses. The Wyndhams inquire of Gulliver's classification as they compare him to the Yahoos. Finding that Gulliver is much more intelligent and curious than these, they begin to provide for and educate the man. After his original acceptance into the Wyndham society, Gulliver labors to assimilate himself into their culture. He learns their intricate language and engages in conversation with his host about the state of affairs in Europe on the topics of war, law, money, food, and occupations. It is in this discussion that Swift blatantly insults England, making obvious his previously suggested maxim that Gulliver's homeland is violent, unskilled, and prideful. Gulliver also investigates the nature of the Yahoos, wishing to compare them to humans using his own observations. Finding that they are indeed cowardly and malicious, yet physically similar to his fellow Englishmen, he agrees with the Grand Assembly of the Wyndhams that the Yahoos could be, and should be, extinguished without great loss. Swift masterfully uses irony to satirize the corruption of humans. Gulliver's opinion that no Yahoo, no person, is good or necessary, criticizes himself as well as his kin. The final portion of this thought-provoking book is bursting with vital shifts in Gulliver's stances and in Swift's writing style. The main character begins Part 4 believing that the Wyndhams are horses, transitions to proposing that they must be men in the form of these animals, and ends with the conviction that they are indeed complex and amazing creatures, surpassing even Gulliver's own species. The audience may view this change through the narrator's explanation of his own disbelief, his slow realization that the horses are the dominant organisms on this land. This recognition seems to be accompanied by a sway of allegiance as the protagonist becomes so alienated from humanity that he eventually opposes his own kind. The reader may sense a consequential shift in the reading when Swift's tone modifies. Instead of only satirizing the civilizations Gulliver visits, the author mimics the man himself and outlines his ridiculous ideals and behaviors. Examples of these actions can be found in Gulliver's approval of Yahoo castration, an idea supplied by his explanation of how the Wyndhams are treated in his homeland, and in his desperate attempts to flee the assistance of a Dutch ship and crew after he is banished. Moreover, Gulliver's distress at the idea of returning to England to live among the men that he now considers to be Yahoos, viewing even his own family as contemptible and disgusting beings, points to his extreme distaste toward all of humankind, or Yahoo kind. This just generates a shift in the loyalty of the reader as well, who now looks not with Gulliver, but at him and his newfound allegiances, estranged by his attack of their own natures. It is due to Gulliver's fidelity to the Wyndhams, however, that provides a glimpse into this species' values and practices. The group emphasizes how distinctions between organisms, physical traits, affect a being, an idea explored in the Wyndhams' interest of Gulliver's naked body that underlines the audacity of class status in Europe. Furthermore, the horses highlight selflessness and the importance of the overall good at the expense of individual pleasure. They marry to achieve the highest functioning offspring, and courtship, love, and settlements have no place in their thoughts. Also, they only function in honesty. Their language has no word for a thing which was not, a lie. The Wyndhams' extreme virtue brings Swift to discuss a vital point on humanity's essence. The horses lead lives of simplicity and practicality, preserving decency and civility in the highest degrees, but they are altogether ignorant of ceremony. The sexual and malicious yahoos juxtapose this idea. Swift could be using this section as a whole to exhibit that the ideal civilization combines the two, blending the best attributes from both factions. Gulliver, a human, does not truly fit with either troop, possessing within him passion, a yahoo characteristic, and courtesy, a Wenham trait. It is possible that what is missing from the horses, altruism and emotion, is what makes the human race superior. Passion is what makes a person a person. Swift could also be asserting that luxury and fervor are the ruin of humanity, formulating natures of selfishness and tendencies toward violence. There exists an extensive number of comparisons left to be made in Part 4. The Grand Assembly could mimic British Parliament, the castration of yahoos may mock the enlightened tendency to control nature, and so on. Yet remains the ending axiom provided by Swift. Humankind and horsekind both have it wrong. Maybe creating a centaur is in order.